Morning, here we are again. It's a beautiful, cold, calm-ish morning. We are at a place called Witch's Point. Some of you may not recognise it because it's not the ledge or the point that it's famous for. It's a massive tide, so the ledges and the point it's fishable on the flood, but come to about half hour before high water, top of the tide, you'll get a back eddy and all the area will be unfishable. It was hard work on a small tide for the first hour and a half, 2 hours anyway, even with a 8-ounce lead. So when you add an extra 3 meters of water, it's unfishable. So on a massive tide, this is where I like to come. This is called the Grass Bank. Quite a few of you might recognise it. It's changed over the years because when I used to fish it years ago, lovely and green, no mud. There was a lovely bench that's disappeared, that was set fire to, and there's a lot of rubbish left here, so which is quite shocking. So it used to be a lovely clean bank to fish off. Now it's, yeah, you can tell it's overrun by fishermen. But there we are. I've been here for about an hour. It's just got light, as you can see. I've had a couple of doggies, I think 3 or 4 doggies. I dropped something a bit smaller, might have been a whiting as I was lifting it up. So we're currently 2 hours from high water. So fingers crossed. You don't get much tide here until it started filling up a little bit. So on these casts now is the first bit of tide I've got. Again, not because it's flooding from right to left. When this bay fills up, you get a back eddy and then it pulls you back out, so it's like a washing machine effect. So you think, oh, it's flooding, why am I being pulled right when it floods from right to left? It's called a little back eddy. I got one rod out on a 2-hook clip down pulley dropper style, and then I got the other rod then on a 6-foot clip down. You see me use it on a recent video on the same venue on the other side on a point. I think it's ideal here because it's clean ground out there. There's no ledges or rocks to get caught on, and you're quite high up, so the lead can swing underneath the fish. Because I had an issue on the point, because there's a point going out about 150 yards to your right. When I was getting rays and dogfish, the fish were coming up, but the lead was swinging 6 foot under, and pretty much every cast the lead was getting jammed. And it was good job it was weed on top of rocks, because I think I'd have left every single fish in those snags if there was no weed there. Yeah! Oh, I feel lucky. Doggy! Going out now is my little famous 2-hook clip down. And the bottom one's running on the cascade swivel, which drops down to the bottom, similar to like a pulley dropper style. But funny enough, this is the actual rig, same rig that I've been using all winter. I've only got one out the rig wallet. I haven't lost any yet. I'm still using the same hooks, which are 10 BMXs on there, or size 1 BMXs, size 1 BMX, sorry, or big mouths. This is £100 rig body, so it's the same rig that I've been using for months now. And on this is a black £30 Amnesia. On the ones that I'm making currently for VMO are clear, because obviously if you're going to Chesil and stuff like that, people like things clear, but this rig hasn't let me down yet. So there's a massive tide running through at the moment as a 15-metre Barry scale. So I got an 8-ounce lead, which is a big lead, with 2 fresh black lug. So see if we can get myself a fresh whiting. Right there. Oh, let's crack on. Yes, well I just put out that 2-hook clip down. So trying to get me a fresh whiting or a pouting or a small rockling or something. Something fresh. Yes. I tell you what, I don't know if it's just me, but when I'm bringing fish in on this rig I'm using, which is 6 foot long, and on the top of it, so you got your size 3 crane, and then a little black bead, and then a size 7 crane, black bead, and then with my SRT springs, there's my SRT springs, I've always, my whole life, I've always cut my SRT springs in half. I've never had an issue. Just looks neater and smaller, and then obviously a crimp, but obviously either side of the SRT spring is a small bead. But what I'm trying to say is, when I'm bringing a fish in, normally if you've got a fish on, your lead is well above it, and if you're fishing a height, your lead is out the water. But at the moment, you're dragging the fish in and the lead in the water. It just feels different. It just feels heavier as well. See if that or I'm weak. Right. So yes, that doggy was on double sandy and squid. The first couple of doggies I had were on anchovies and squid. So if some of you are not familiar with anchovies, I get mine from Riot Baits, or any fishing shop that stocks Riot Baits. Wicked they are, absolutely wicked. I think I had majority of the rays on my last trip on witches on the anchovies. I think I had 1 or 2 on sandy and squid. Can't remember. So yes, on this one I'm going to do an anchovy. Anchovy. Here's the anchovy. Snip his tail off. I run a slither, not too deep, probably about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch down him. And then what I do, I get my 3.0 BMX, I go in and like out of his eyeball, push his eyeball back in, extra scent. Then what I do is I get the elastic, so that groove I made, ooh, couple of clicks on the accelerator. That groove I made, I've sat the line in the groove now and the eye of the hook. So I wrap the elastic around the knot. That secures the whole thing in place. And then I get the top and get rid of that elastic. And then I don't even wrap that around the top hook because I find it just kinks the line. So that's a 3.0 BMX panel style. So we're sitting nice and neat. Yes. Sexy. Wrap it all the way up. I'd eat that myself. So that is looking good. Back down over the knot again. Ooh, that's looking good, peeps. Right, now wrap a squid. Now what I do, I measure it up like that so I know. So the point of the top hook goes through the bait there, and then it sits absolutely perfect. Covers the groove, covers the hooks. So you'll see what I mean now then. Slowly wrap it down gently first so it doesn't move the squid. Gordon Ramsay would be happy with this. Ooh, 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 yeah. A couple of turns around there, pull snap. That is it. Now I know I don't need it because the elastic is wrapped around the bottom hook of the knot so much it holds it in place, but I've got one of these light aluminium crimps that I love. Just push it down, douche, there like that. Beautiful bait. That's anchovy and a squid wrap. Say, I'm only using 3L hooks because you don't really get massive rays down here. You know, if you hit a double figure, you've done really well. But I wouldn't use 3Os on the blondes. Especially on Barry area, you know, minimum 5.0, that's personal preference. So yes, and then that is on to £80. £80 Astro Classic. Doggy! Oh. Oh. You messed that one up. Rock salmon. Slip down. Oof. Oof. Yeah, that doggy then has twisted up this rig big time. Because what I'm trying to say is, because you got a fixed point there, that came in the whole 6 foot length, then came in all twisted up. But obviously, if it was a pulley rig and the lead was at the top, you couldn't do it. So it's only second trip just trying it out. I used to use it a long time ago, but shorter on the hounds. But losing so many rigs on the hounds, it's just easy to go back to the pulley rig. So yeah, that was on half and bluey and squid, alright? loves a rock salmon. Just going to run you through a bait up I do for double sand eel and squid. Flask is key, as you all know. Riot bait sand eels. Let's just get 2 out. Yeah, in this flask I can fit four packs of sand eel, which is nice. Got a wicked bite and a slack liner. Yes, but that can wait. Doing this for you is more important. Don't let anyone tell you different. Yeah, that's a nice bite. That's got to be a ray. Ray, who's that gone? Where's that gone then? Oh, there. It's hiding from me, my elastic. So what I do is I get my 2 medium sand eels. I cut the sand eel just like halfway between the eye and the gill and trim the tails off. So wrap it in elastic first. Only a little slither of elastic. Yes, you drop in slack. Doggy. So literally, and then what I do, so it looks like that already. And I get my hook, which is in my leg. So, and then I always like the white facing towards a point for some reason. So I put the hook between the elastic and the 2 sand eels. So then it sits like that. And then again, grab my elastic, lots of elastic, wrap it around the hook, and then you see, get out. And then see the knot, elastic around the knot, and then I get the top hook and I push the top hook just above the eye, so they're both sitting out perfect. Now see that? Yes, I hope you do. And then you wrap that around. Beautiful. Wrap it down. You can never be too short with elastic. It's always nice to put loads on. Get your wrapper squid then. Your wrapper squid then covers the hooks, the knot, which makes it look pretty then. So I always like to do inside out. Oh, that's a nice bite, that is. Oof. But I bet it was a doggy. And then just wrap the whole thing. Just fish that up there, put it tight, douche. And then, don't need it, but I like it. I like it a lot. And push that down. So that is it. See, it's not a huge bait, and it's not a small bait. Nice double sand eel and a squid wrap with the 2 hooks showing. Pull that bit of elastic off. Beautiful. Yeah, there was 2 on there, but this one likes to eat the bait backwards, as you do. Lovely. Yeah, that was weird, that one. Hit that one sweet as a nut, and then literally, well, you wouldn't have seen it on camera, 2 things. As it was going through the air, nice and high, there's a seagull chasing it. And then as it was going down, literally about to hit the water, come off a clip. It's never happened normally, like. Oh, there's a rat. Normally if there's a bait that's going to come off the clip, it normally comes off there. But literally perfect. All the way down, just before it hits the water, you just seen the bait come off like that. So yeah. I don't know with these rigs, I don't know. I might just stick to my long pulleys. But when I'm fishing around this area, I might just got a nice bite on the two hooker. I might just drop down to 3/0s on the long pulley rather than messing about all the time. Wonder where these anchovies actually come from. Like what is the point in an anchovy? No idea. I'll behave now. I have to put my glasses on. My glasses. Yeah, I squint really bad. It does. The sun doesn't even have to come out. Like it could be a bright day with no sun, like hidden. You know what I mean? And like even walking down the street where you head down, and you know when you got like patio slabs, like bright pavements and stuff like that. I squint, and as soon as I squint, I get a headache. Pray for a whiting. Oh, nothing. Yeah, I'm putting the two hooker away now. I've been here 3 hours. Plenty of dogs, no whiting, so. It's approaching high water now, so it's going to run even hard on the ebb. So let's go for a ray. Plenty of dogs out there, probably had 10 doggies I reckon. So if the doggies are there, there's got to be a ray there. Well, it was only 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago I had 6 rays. Oh, we had 6 rays, sorry, I had 4 off the point. So yeah, so they're not going to go out for a week and then come back in. They're there, they are, so let's have a go. Let's have a go, it's all we can do. Oh my god. That's like on Porthcawl Pier, so we're down there. Yes, that was double sandy and squid. The top hook has been pulled right down. Absolutely nailed. Probably a ray. No, my luck. Ah, never mind. Calling that one. I really want to talk to you about rigs, especially the pulley dropper. The pulley dropper doesn't work. I've explained this before in an old video, but the pulley dropper doesn't work in the way that you think it works. Like, for example, now we're fishing here today. Say we're casting out straight. The tide at the moment is ebbing from left to right. Whichever way the tide is running, especially if you've got people either side of you, you have to cast up tide. Because if you've got strong tide like today, if you cast straight, you're just going to be all the way down there, probably in front of 2, 3, 4 anglers down. So you have to cast up tide. So it's got a chance to come round and bed in front of you, if not up from you. So, with that said, you imagine now this being a pulley dropper. I've got to cast this lead up tide now, right? So the lead's going up through the water, hits the seabed. This is a pulley dropper now, right? For example. So, as the bait hits the water, the imp, boosh, it releases. It shoots up to the top because of the force of the water. So you're dropped down, what is it? The bent eye rig clip, right? Unclips from the swivel. Because of the force of the bait and the water, the lead going through to the bottom, the bent eye rig clip is pushed to the top of your rig body. So your lead is travelling to the bottom first, your bait behind it. And as it falls and it hits the bottom, the lead is up tide, and because the bait has no weight to it, the tide is pushing it away from the lead, right? Because remember, the tide's going from right to left. So now what you have is a lead trying to anchor up tide, your rig body attached to your leader going down tide, because your main line will be coming around with the tide up to your rod. Your bent eye rig clip will be at the top of your rig body, and then your bait going down tide. Is this starting to make sense? So with your lead being anchored and your bait down tide, because it's physically impossible for your bait to stay up tide, because what does it weigh? A couple of ounces? As soon as you chuck in the water, it's gone. So now your weight is anchored up tide, your rig body is going down tide attached to your leader, your leader's going down tide, but then all of a sudden your line starts to come around with the tide through the water up to your rod. So it looks like you're up tide in, because that's what it is. It's physically impossible for your line and your rig and your lead to be in one straight line. So from your tip of your rod to your lead, it probably looks like a C or a J. It's naturally because the tide, there's so much tide against your line, your lead is anchored up tide, so naturally your rig body to your leader is curving around. So the pulley dropper snood is tight against your swivel and your shock leader clip. So if you were to go out there now, if I had a pulley dropper, dive to the bottom and have a look, it'd be sitting on the floor exactly the same as a pulley rig. Think about, honestly, think about what I'm trying to say. So your lead is anchored up tide, your bait is down tide. A fish, like a pulley rig, could pick your bait up and swim, pick this up. That fish was to swim up tide, it can take your link clip for an extra 5-6 foot without you knowing, without any indication whatsoever. But with a pulley rig, as soon as it picks it up, If it goes down tide, same as a pulley dropper, if it goes down tide, it'll pull your lead out, slack line a fish on. Now with a pulley rig, remember what I said about a fish picking it up with a pulley dropper, it can pull that link all the way down to your lead without you knowing. So a fish has picked up my pulley rig, and as soon as that swivel moves, boof, 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 you'll get indication or it'll pull your lead out, either one. So the only way you should use a pulley dropper, you need to really think about this, if you use a pulley dropper, is to fish down tide. Because, and not too far out, because if you're casting 100 yards, you will naturally have a bow from your lead, which is anchored, around up to your tip. So your rig will always be bent in the tide, if that makes sense, curving around because of the pressure of the tide. So where you should use a pulley dropper is if you're fishing from a height close in, where your rig body is off the ground. That is the only way a pulley dropper will work, is if your rig body is off the ground. So it will naturally fall down to the bottom and then sit. I don't think you'll sit flush, but do you get what I'm trying to say? So there's your rig body, pulley dropper's dropped. So it has the reverse effect. So, but that's why I just use a lot of pulley rigs. You know, I am trying this with the SRT spring and all that, because I like trying new things. You know, I just love messing about. But you'll never ever see me using a pulley dropper, because it doesn't work. It's the same principle as a pulley rig, but it has a lot more play in it. So a fish can pick you up without you knowing. People will disagree with me because they love the pulley dropper, but if you really think about what I'm saying, you'll understand that the pulley dropper doesn't work, especially when you're fishing for rays in tide like this. Just a little update. Quite a few doggies, probably 10, 12 doggies. No small fish on a small hooks. Nothing on the accelerator on a big, you know, a decent bait close in for a bass or an eel. So I've just put 2 fresh ones out now, double sand eel and squid on the one, anchovy squid on the other. But yeah, it's bang on high water now. It's 5 to 9 in the morning. So I'm hoping, I've been on here dozens of times where we've had nothing on the flood, and then as soon as it starts ebbing, that's when we get them. So just one would be nice, just one ray. Come sit down, let me tell you a story. It was March, it was the week that it went into the lockdown. It was literally like the day or two before, around that time. So I came out for a session on here, massive tide, trying for an early ray, and I mean, I think I had about 30 doggies. It was mental. And a mate of mine, Andy McFarlane, some of you know him as Gandhi, he was on Monkey Tump, keeping in contact. I was going to join him, but I wanted to come down here for just an easy session, like. And I mean, it was constant double shots of doggies every cast, double shot, double shot, double shot. And then he rings me, ding, 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 ding. I was like, yeah. He's like, I got a massive blonde. I was like, how big? He's like, I don't know yet, I haven't landed it. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it's beneath me on the beach, I gotta go down and get it. And I was like, well, go down and get it, then give me a ring. But literally, as soon as I got off the phone to him, I was like, right, change of tactic, fed up catching doggies, because he's laughing at me now. He's like, I got a big blonde and you're catching doggies, you should have come with me. So I wound in, I literally put I remember it was like a double bluey and a whole squid. I literally whacked it as far as I can, just to try for a bass, something different, just a massive bait. And then walked back to the stand, I put the rod on the stand and the line's just slack, and I was like, that. Tied up to it, dropped slack. I thought, oh no, I was like, the rig's come off. And because it used to happen with the Gemini link clips. So I thought I'll wind it in. So wind it in, nothing there, lines coming in, nothing there, bang. And all of a sudden I'm like, what the? So this fish has run in from like 70, 80 yards to under my feet. And I'm literally on this bank by here, probably 30 foot up, T900 going, I was like, oh my God, what's this? And it was on a double bluey and a whole squid on 8-0 hooks. And they come up and it was a bass. And it must have took the bait even before it hit the bottom. And easy double figure, it was massive. 30 foot up, it's on the water and it looked huge, absolutely huge. But I could see all the bait hanging out of his mouth. Literally, right to the bottom of the bait is hanging out of his mouth. And I thought, what am I going to do here? Didn't bring my little drop net. Normally I just handball everything up. So I climbed down to the ledge. As soon as I attempted to lift it, hook pulled. It was, the mouth on it was like that. It was massive. So yeah, I go from hearing that the blondes are feeding where I should have gone, to catching double shot of doggies every cast, to losing probably a fish of a lifetime. But I'm on about it was hooked by the smallest bit of skin. As soon as I pulled his head out the water, off he come. I was devastated. But yeah, you win some, you lose some. I just realised, didn't think about it, because the tide's running hard, right? I slightly cast that to the right. So I'm going to have to wind that back in a minute. Should have cast left, but there we are, never mind. Just lack of concentration. Cast left a bit. This Witch's Point in the winter can be productive for spur dogs as well. Me and Gandhi came down here. I had a memory come up on Facebook in early February. We come down here one day, we had a couple of small eyes doggies, and I had a rod went over. I got halfway down and I'm thinking it's a ray. I could see a doggy. What was the slack line there? Did you catch that then? Left hand rod? Yeah. Oh, that's a ray, that is. She is slack. It's the first one I've cast right up into the bay. Running, that is. Surface right out there. You know, it's been hard going. I'd probably say 15 doggies, maybe more. One double shot, and then as soon as it starts ebbing, a nice little small eye, about £3. It's mad to think, you know, of all the fish I've caught, from big spurs, big eels, big hounds, big taupe, what else, big hass, I still get, well now again, not still, again, I've got an absolute buzz for fish this small. You know, I love fishing for fishing, it is what it is. I'm happy to catch what's ever there now. I've been doing this game a long time now. I get as much buzz catching fish like this as I do a whiting on a 2-hooker. Buzzing. Yeah, that was the first ray of the session, and that was the first time I cast right up into the bay. So that's where this tide's running so hard now. Like 8 ounce, it's just straight down there. So I'm gonna cast now up towards the cliffs, and then I had that ray on double sandy on squid. I got anchovy and squid going out now, so. So we go. That's the one. Sorry about that, before I was rudely interrupted by that lovely small eye. Big or small, love them all. Yeah, I was talking about spur dogs. Me and Gandhi come down here. I thought I had a ray on because it was a nice pullover, and up come, it looked like, I remember Gandhi shouting, oh, it's like, it looks like a hound. I thought, end of January, beginning of February. I was like, it can't be. That's right, it was the end of January. I didn't put the post up until the 2nd week of February, that's right, because I come down a few nights after it, sorry. And I got it to the edge. Gandhi was up here, I was down on the ledge where I landed that small eye just now. Rigged straight down. The dogfish was hooked, but the spur dog was wrapped up in the rig, like coming backwards. It wasn't even hooked. So I was like, oh no. So literally tried to handball it. It did like a rolling motion and come off. And I was like, spur dogs here? I was like, really? So I told my mate Ben Davis, and you all know Ben, and then we came down here for a couple of days. That's what we come down for, 2 or 3 days we came down, but the following week, and all we had was I had spotted an ounce shy of £5. Yeah, but we tried for spurs, nothing happened. And then it was the year later then, in January, I had a spur off here and a spur off the point. I fished over high here, but because the tide ebbs out quick in this bay, if you go around to the point, you get an extra hour or two's fishing on a small tide. And I had a spur off here because I chucked out my Conti rod and I was catching little whiting, about 5-6 inches, perfect. I literally cut it clean in half, wrapped it to a sand eel, cast it out. I carried a little 8-inch bite traces with me, single hook, and Ben will remember. And yeah, I had a spur off here on sand eel and fresh whiting wrap, about 6-7 pound, I can't remember. And then I had a even smaller one off the point then, about 3 hours after high. So, yeah. She don't know what's swimming around out there. Still fishing, hour after, plenty of fish coming through. Mainly D to the A to the A to the A to the G to the G to the I to the E. Doggy. Yeah, I'm not going to use this rig again after today. It's just stick my putties. But because the lead is not pulling above the fish, we all know 9 times out of 10 the doggies spin and they're just absolutely ruining the rigs. You don't get that problem with a pulley rig, see? I've had to turn the rods around. The sun is bright and it is very, very warm, well into double figures. I'm actually sweating. I've turned the rods around now with the tide because I can't see them because of the sun. So we're about an hour and 10 minutes into the ebb. So another good hour and 20 minutes on here. Well over 20 now. Well over 20 doggies. I had a double shot just now. It's coming towards the end of, well, it's the 3rd week of February. You know, they shouldn't be here in this many numbers because on my last trip here a couple of weeks ago, I think at the beginning of February, where we had rays, me and Richie only had about 15 doggies between us, 4 rods all day. So that's nothing really. A lovely £3 plus spotted to finish a session on the last cast. So well over 20 doggies, 2 rays, couple of shots of double shots of doggies, staggies, and I dropped a fish, possibly whiting, pouting, as I lifted it out this morning. So lovely fish. Let's get it weighed and let's get it returned.